And if you're doing it nice and lightly, you're not going to upset your horse and get a nasty attitude. But it just depends whether you're getting everything's really clear to the horse. One pressure, one response, light pressures, and always trying to get it lighter. Always trying to see how little you can do in order to get the responses. If you've been interested in horsemanship for a while, then you'd probably understand that one of the things that we're really looking for is to get control of the horse's feet. In the beginning, it's pretty important, because if you're controlling the feet, maybe the outside environment is not controlling the horse's feet. Maybe if you're controlling, and if we were talking about the science of learning, we would call this stimulus control, placing the horse's movement under stimulus control. Now, if I've got the movement of the horse under stimulus control, the movement of the horse won't fall under environmental control. So it won't suddenly be the paper bag that goes past, or the dog that barks next to the fence. That won't control his feet. He'll have learned responses, and those learned responses will obtain the 4 basic movements: forwards, backwards, isolate the forequarters, isolate the hindquarters. And if I can control those 4 basic movements, then that's the basis upon which all other movements will be built. Another thing, maybe later, when you get really good control of your horse's feet, you'd learn that the position of the horse's body was the consequence of the control of the feet. That if really you could put his feet where you want to, when you want to, that would influence the position of his body, and you wouldn't be so worried about trying to control his body, but more control his feet, so that you could have his body under control. So we'll talk a little bit about what it might mean to you to have control of your horse's feet. Now, the first one of the early things I like to teach my horse is to stand still. So whatever happens, I wouldn't make a horse stand still. I can't hold this horse still. He weighs a little over 600 kilograms. I don't know what that is in pounds or whatever you might measure in, but it's a fair lump of a horse. Now, I can't hold him still, but I can teach him that if you move your feet, it's uncomfortable, and if you stand still, it's comfortable. And so he'd learn to stand still. It would be a learned behavior. So rather than trying to hold the horse still, and the only thing he really wants to do is move because it's uncomfortable to be still, I would look at it another way and say, well, let's make it uncomfortable if you move, and the only thing comfortable to do is to stand still. So then little by little, you'd teach that horse that whatever I did, I could wave things around here and all that kind of, and the horse would learn to be still. You might want to be able to correct if he moved his feet. So there you might need a little control of his feet. And the first feet that I'd probably control, there'd be 2 ways of looking at it. If I want his attention, I need to control his hindquarters. If I want to be able to stop, I need to be able to back him up. So one of the early things you'll do is teach the horse to walk backwards. Now, I'll just move his hindquarters across here so you can get a good look at this. Ask your horse to step backwards. You should get that off a light pressure. And if he's nice and light, he'll yield through his body and through his feet. Now, if I ask the horse to step back here, I should be able to step him back and have him stand still, whatever happens. And from there, I could step in here and move the hindquarters over, make it nice and clear for him, and find rhythm. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Put the rhythm in my feet, find it in his feet. And if I can do that from each side, if I can step his hindquarters across, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, without any flight response, then that will give me good control of his head, meaning that if I move here, or here, or here, you see that horse's head will be following me. I'll just turn him around here so you can get a look at that. Move the hindquarters across, and wherever I go, the head follows. And why does the head follow? Because I've got control of the hindquarters. The hindquarters will step across 1 step, hindquarters will step across 1 step, hindquarters will step across 1 step. Make sure it's not the shoulders. Step the hindquarters across, there. And then I've got the horse's head. I can sort of rock him backwards and forwards here because I've got control of his head. So having the horse's attention is the consequence of having control of his feet, is having control of those hindquarters. Being able to do that, have the horse's head following me everywhere, is because I've got the feet, especially those hindquarters. From there, you might like to be able to teach your horse to step backwards. Now, there's several ways that you would control the horse's feet. You could control the horse's feet using 2 different types of pressure. I could either use a physical pressure here on his nose, for example, and step his feet backwards. I could use physical pressure on the halter. And each of those pressures, as I put them on the horse, if the horse moves away from the pressure, if he finds the good response, if he finds what I'm looking for, then the pressure is removed. So put a little pressure on here. Now if he braced against it, if he pushed against it, I just hold it there and wait on him. And when he moves away from it, sometimes you want to build it up a little bit. If he's getting a little bit heavy, build up the pressure, make it uncomfortable enough so that he wants it to stop. And when he finds the good solution, allow him to win. You could do that off the halter here. It's the same thing. Any halter pressure should get the horse to yield, whether it's in his body or whether it's in his feet. Now I could move his shoulders across here, for example, put a little pressure there and step this foot across and cross across in front with this one. There we go. And I could put some pressure here and step the hindquarters across. Same idea. One day you might even be able to put the two together and step the horse across sideways like that. What's important is that you put the pressure in one place, and when the horse finds the correct solution, that the pressure is removed, so that he learns how to remove the pressures. Put a pressure here, when he steps the hindquarters across, the pressure is removed. If I put some pressure here, when he yields away from that pressure, the pressure is removed. So he knows how to remove the different pressures, and all of those things are done without provoking any fear. So I can control the forequarters and the hindquarters and step him backwards, and also halter pressure. Put some pressure on this halter and bring the feet forward. Now I could bring the feet forward. I can ask the feet to step backwards. I could ask the feet to step forwards. What's important is that the halter, whilst it may be on his head, is connected to his feet. And if I can step his feet backwards and forwards, then get those basic responses. And some people are not getting these things, and they're starting to, when you talk to them, say, well, you know, I'm having trouble with my two-track work, I'm having trouble with my lead changes. And for the time being, some of the basics aren't there. Now, if I'm moving away from a physical pressure, like a direct feel on the horse, where you would start really lightly, build it up, and when he responds, you'd remove that pressure. You could also do it from a distance, and I could, for example, step the hindquarters across from a little further. We've already done that, so step those across, pretty good. You could ask the horse to step backwards, and all it means is it's a basic stimulus-response relationship. I do something, it gets uncomfortable, a little more uncomfortable, horse finds a good solution, and the pressure is removed. And those pressures can get lighter and lighter until now I could step the horse backwards here like this, using light pressure, step him backwards, and maybe yield him forward of really light halter pressure. So step him forward, stop him, step him backwards, and have nice control of those horses' feet, and step him forwards of light halter pressure. And those pressures can get really, really light. You could control the shoulders from here, lead the head across, move the shoulders over. But I wouldn't just lunge the horse by chasing him away. I move the hindquarters and move those shoulders right across there, about 90 degrees. So if I bring my horse around here, I'll show you that with a little bit more precision. Step the hindquarters across. There we go. Now, I'll bring those shoulders across to where the front end is facing you. Step it right across there at about 90 degrees to my feet. I've got my feet in front of his feet. Step the hindquarters across. Get my feet in front of his feet. Step him back one step there. There we go. Now, my feet are facing his feet, and I step the shoulders right across there. There we go. And bring him past here. From there, you speed the horse up a little and maintain control of his feet. You might control his body as well. If I can put that inside hind leg underneath his body, I could also control how he moves his body. So there he is. We've got that inside hind going in under his body, and he'll round up quite nicely there. You could also just send the horse out and allow him to circle a little and have really good control of his feet. Now, if I can send the shoulders across to the left and right, what I can also do is bring the horse in towards me here and then lead the front end across. But everything has to be broken down, so I can push the hindquarters over, bring the horse across and lead him across here. Do the same thing here, bring him in towards me and push the shoulders over. But always having control of his feet. Put a good stop on your horse, even on the lunge line. Speed his feet up a little bit there and stop his feet. And always when you're thinking stop, count your strides. His feet should stop within 4. Any longer than that and it's too long. Now I'd like to be able to get it back to where the stop happens even faster, but even in the beginning I'll be counting 4 strides and then be able to move his feet forward. So I could speed his feet up a little, maybe position his body a little by controlling his feet. Step him across sideways here a little maybe. There we go, step him out a little further on his circle. Speed his feet up here a little and stop his feet. Step the hindquarters over. 1, 2, 3. Bring the front end across and steer him out this way. I'd rather he stepped. I'll just do that one again. I like to be able to have those nice fluid movements in his feet. So I'd be looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Try that here and get him not to jump. And 1, 2, 3. There we go. You could add some life to that and get those shoulders coming across fast, but just make sure that you've got good fluid movement. Nice. There we go. Fluid movement in there. Bring his body around here and be able to stop his feet. And at any point there, if I was wanting the horse's head, I could move the hindquarters across. The head will come this way, and then of course I can lead his head and push the shoulders across and lead him that way. So I'm not just lunging the horse in some sort of approximative way. It's really quite precise. There's control of his shoulders, there's control of the hindquarters, there's an accelerator and there's brakes. And then if I've got that, I can probably even have control of that without the halter. So, you know, my end game would be that I could remove this and I'll pop this out of the way. So I remove that halter, and once you take that halter off, it's the same deal. Make sure you can control your horse's feet. Step the hindquarters across. Can you step the front end across? Good man. Step the hindquarters across. Step the front end across. Now, leading the horse is still about controlling the horse's feet. So I like to teach the horse to stay in nice and close to me, but not push on me. And I'd like his eye to be in front of my head. Now, if he gets behind me a bit, I'll put a bit of pressure on the halter. And that's uncomfortable for him. That's why we use those rope halters. It's uncomfortable for the horse to drag behind me. And I'd like to teach him, keep beside me. And I do that with the halter and lead rope. And I do it on each side, so that he was staying nice and close to me here. And if I get a little bit ahead of him, I could put a little pressure on that halter and say, keep up. The stick is not used to chase the horse. For example, I'll give you an example. If I was going to speed the horse up, what I do is I'd lift the flag or the stick or whatever it might be. I'll do it on this side so that you can see. I'll lift it up, I'll move it a little, and I'll touch the horse if I have to. Here, man. But in the end, what's going to happen is, for example, he's lagging a little. If I lift the stick up, then he'll straight away speed up his feet because it's a conditioned response. So lift the stick, he speeds his feet up and the stick goes down. All that really interests my horse is what can he do to remove the stick. So lift the stick up, bring him around here. Good man. And I could change sides and teach him to keep in nice and close to me here, and maybe from there send the horse a little further away. There's a man. Now, you could get a fair bit of distance, and if you've got good control of the horse's feet, despite the distance, you still have control. So there, the horse is a fair way from me now, but if I stick the flag out in front, I can still stop his feet. Stick the flag up behind and get his feet to go forward. There's a good man. Be able to step the hind quarter over. Just push the hind quarter over a little and then draw him back in this way. And then step him across and then make that one fluid movement. Hind quarters across, draw the horse back in, send the front end out there. There's a good fellow. And at any point on that circle, I could either stop his feet or step those hindquarters over. And then maybe be able to bring him forward here, and maybe something like that. You might want to learn how to use positive reinforcement and how to make yourself look like the horse's comfort zone, so that as the horse is working, he thinks, well, if I can just get myself back to that human there, that'll be the best place to be. But all of these things, the liberty work in the beginning, it comes back to having good basic responses. So can I step the front end over? Can I step the hindquarters over? Can I move have I got good control of the two front legs, the two back legs? Can I step the horse backwards, and can I bring the horse forwards? And being able to control the horse's feet. If you've got control of the horse's feet, the environment and other things won't have control of the horse's feet. And from there, you know, maybe some things that could seem a little bit difficult, working with the clippers or things like that. If you had control of his feet, you could fix anything that might go wrong. Or maybe trying to get your horse in the trailer, you know. If you don't have control of the horse's feet, you could have some difficulty getting those feet to go into the trailer. So the first thing you'd be looking for is getting control of the horse's feet, and then you could actually take them somewhere. But rather than go straight towards the problem and say, well, how do I get his feet into the trailer? So first, you know, can I teach the horse to come forwards? Can I teach the horse to step backwards? Can I teach the horse to move his front end? And can I teach the horse to move his hind end? And if I've got those feet, you know, I've got everything else. And if you're doing it nice and lightly, you're not going to upset your horse and get a nasty attitude. But it just depends whether you're getting everything's really clear to the horse. One pressure, one response, light pressures, and always trying to get it lighter. Always trying to see how little you can do in order to get the responses. When you're speeding the horse up, make sure that there's no flight response in there. Step the forequarters across. Okay, that's good. And really precisely. I didn't chase the horse away. Never chase the horse. Step the forequarters across. At any point in there, I can slow his feet down, I can speed them up. They're all conditioned responses. And we gallop the feet, or pop him up into a canter, but without having flight response. There we go. Bring him back here. And step the feet across there. Good man. At any point on that circle, even at a distance, I should be able to stop his feet, turn his feet, control the forequarters, control the hindquarters, maybe control them both at the same time. Be able to forequarter, hindquarter. And in no way trying to do circus tricks. It's not about teaching the horse circus tricks, it's about being able to have a really well-disciplined horse, but having very, very precise control of precise movements with precise cues and understanding how to do that. And you'd be surprised with any animal, whether it's a dog, a dolphin, or a horse, if he's really well educated, he'll be really well behaved. Behavior is not really an isolated subject in the sense that there are bad behaviors with solutions. Bad behaviors come from a lack or from poor education. And that's the same with all different mammals. So if you've got a really well-educated horse on the ground, you'll suddenly have less bad behaviors. If you can do what you want, when you want, with his feet, you're going and with really precise cues, you'll find that you don't have many bad behaviors. So there's no fear. There's precise control of the four basic movements: forequarters, hindquarters, forwards and backwards. And then there's no flight in the acceleration response because they're all conditioned responses. So maybe think about how you're working with your horse. Is your horse leading correctly? Is he dragging along behind you, or when you lead him? Is he stopping when you stop? Does he go backwards when you go backwards? Can you step your horse's shoulders across this way? If you walk this way, does he step out of your way? And if you walk this way, can you bring the shoulders back towards you? There. Come across this way, good man. Step that across there. and bring that back here, and be able to sort of almost magically rock your horse backwards and forwards like that, because he knows that if I'm walking my feet, he moves. My feet can move his feet can't move mine. And I have his feet under stimulus control. Now, some people might think, wow, that's really strict. But what happens is either you're controlling his feet or he's controlling his feet. And especially when you're riding, either you're controlling what the horse is doing or you're just going for a ride. So when I'm riding the horse, I'd rather be the pilot than the passenger. We'll look at that in another video, but I hope you found that groundwork quite interesting. And maybe you can think about, okay, how can I get more precision in the control of my horse's feet? We'll talk to you soon. Bye.